All right, y'all ready? Yep. All right. Come on, let's come on. Hey, Suhaila. Stop. Can't be loud. Got people online listening. Yo, Nico, get yourself together, brother. It's the master. You ain't supposed to yell in the master. You know, Imam Malik would have kicked you out of the master in his time. Umar would have had you beat, boy. Yo, come on inside. Come on, let's go. Y'all can talk later. Come on, man. Come inside. Come sit down. Sit. Make a circle. Make a halata. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم رضي الله تعالى عنه وسادة التابعين وعلماء عاملين وآئمة أربعة مجتهدين ومقلدين إلى يوم الدين وبعد. Now I know we try to make a crescent. I know crescent is important to Muslim, but we got a big hole right here. That's the two people. Yeah. All right. So we talked about the wives of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We talked about Maria, to slave girl Maria and Rehana. We talked about no, we didn't go into the slaves who the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam freed, because they had a slavery in a form of slavery, but it's not as what you know uh, in the transatlantic slave trade, right? The type of slavery that African Americans experienced, you know, they Islam always encouraged to free slaves, especially for a way of making a retribution to you may have taken an oath and said you were going to do something, right? Now remember what we talked about with regards to memory in class. Remember that, right? So Bones, everybody, stay on point. All right. So you always had, you had those type of ordeals where it was better to free someone who was a servant and a slave, right? And a servant and slave, the description that would describe of it, the one that's upheld by Islam, is more like a contract, where you take care of them, you feed them, clothe them, you pay them, but they're in debt to you because you're taking them in like an extra member, like an extra family member. Also, the slave, you can't have a Muslim slave. You can't have a Muslim slave, right? You only have it can only be non-Muslims. Usually, they were captured in war when it was jihad, or they were sold and purchased, right? Usually a person that the profile that fit for a lot of people that were slaves, they were either caught in war, or some of them were kind of like born and passed down into generation, right? Right? You're not supposed to beat them. Um, you're not supposed to, mistreat them in any way or anything like that, right? And it's better to free them versus keeping them enslaved, in bondage. So the first one that's mentioned is Zayd ibn Harith. He was one of the servants that was freed by the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Thawban ibn Bujdud Abu Khabash Habasha. His name was Sulaim, and he was present. He fought at Badr. Another one, his name was Badham, Ruwayfi, Hasir, Maymun, Abu Bakr, Hormuz, Abu Safiya, Ubaid, Abu Salma, Anasa, Salih Shukran, Rabah Aswad, Yasir Al-Rai, Nabatin, Abu Rafi, but his name was Aslam. Some scholars held the opinion. Others have opinions that have been mentioned. Either the name is Abu Rafi or Aslam. All right. Abu Muwayhiba, Fadalla al-Yamani, al-Rafi, Mid'am Aswad. He was killed at Khaybar. Kirkira, who used to carry the belongings of the Prophet ﷺ when he traveled. Zayd, the grandfather of Hilal ibn Yasir ibn Zayd. Ubaidah, Tahman or Kaisin. This guy, he got 5 names. All right, ready? Tahman, Kaysan, Mahran, Dakwan, or Marwan. That was his name. One of those 5 names was his name. Ma'burakat, Waqid, Abu Waqid, Hisham, Dumayra, Hunayn, Abu Asib, whose name was Ahmar, Abu Ubaidah, Safina, Salman al-Farsi, Ayman, Ayman ibn Ayman, Aflah, Sabiq, Salim, Zayd ibn Bawla, Sa'id, Dumayra, Ubaidullah ibn Aslam, Nafi, Nabih, Wardan, Abu Uthayla, Abu Humra. Right? Make it more circlish. You like right in the middle. You got a lot of old man problems. All right, from the females, there was Salma, Rafi, Ayman, also her name was Baraka. She was the mother of Usama ibn Zayd. Maymuna bint Sa'id, Khadira, Radwa, Umayma, Rayhana, Dumaira, Maria, Shireen, the sister of Maria, and Abbas. Those who served the Prophet ﷺ, meaning they lived with him and just, served, but many of them, Anas ibn Malik, his mother gave him over to the Prophet ﷺ, and he's one of the ones where you get a lot of narrations of hadith from the Prophet ﷺ, and some of his hadith are more intimate than others, meaning because he lived in the quarters with the Prophet ﷺ, lived in his house, right? So he tells you when you hear his name and he's giving you description about the Prophet ﷺ, oftentimes he's telling you a little bit, he's telling you more than what the average person would tell you. He would know more intimate details about the Prophet ﷺ than Abu Bakr would, right? Or any other Sahaba, because he lived in the household of the Prophet ﷺ. Hind, right? Now, like I said, the list, the group of people I mentioned, which were, hold up, 12, 12 plus 47 is what? 49, 59? 59 people that the Prophet ﷺ freed from slavery. All right. Now, these are the people who served the Prophet ﷺ to some extent, whether they lived in the house with him or whether they went to take care, do daily jobs around his property and stuff. So Anas ibn Malik, Hind, Asma, both were the daughters of Harith al-Aslam. Rabi'a ibn Ka'ab al-Aslami, Abdullah ibn Masud, who used to look after the intent to the shoes of the Prophet ﷺ, he stood and he would put them on for him. And when he sat down, he would remove them for him and he placed them under his arms until he stood up once again. Uqba ibn Amr al-Juhayni, who was in charge of his donkey. Bilal ibn Rabah, who called the Adhan. Sa'id, the freed slave of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. Dhul Miqha, hold on. Dhul Miqmar. It said that Miqmar, the son of his, was the son of the brother of Najashi. And you'll learn who Najashi is later on, but Najashi was the king that was in Habasha, was some of the land now known as Ethiopia. Um, Bukair ibn Sadaq al-Laythi, and they also said that his name was Bakr. Abu Dhar al-Ghifari, Asla ibn Sharik ibn Auf al-Araji. Muhajir was a free slave of Salima. Salima was the wife of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then Abu As-Sama, radiallahu ta'ala anhu. Now, these names are mentioned. You may not think that they're important now, but in deeper study, you'll find out how important and how close, because some people were closer to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Like you mentioned, Bilal ibn Rabah, right? He used to always call the Adhan for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He was the muazzin for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is a form of khidmah, right? How they mention about mention Abbas, right? I'm sorry, Abdullah bin Masud. He used to look after the shoes of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So there was nothing that they did for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that was considered something that was minute or unimportant. All right. The scribes, the people who wrote for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Al-Hafiz Abu Qasim mentioned that there were 23, and he listed them with his chain of narration in this book that maybe in the future is called Tariq Dimashq. All right. And they were one, Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, Umar ibn Khattab, Uthman, Ali, Talha, Az-Zubair, Ubay ibn Ka'ab, Zayd ibn Thabit, Muawiyah ibn Abu Sufyan, Muhammad ibn Maslama, Arqam ibn Abu Arqam, Aban ibn Sa'ad ibn al-As, Khalid ibn Sa'id ibn al-As, Thabit ibn Qais, Handala ibn Rabi', Khalid ibn Walid, Abdullah ibn Arqam, Abdullah ibn Zayd ibn Abi Rabbi, Al-A'la, Al-A'la ibn Uqba, Al-Mughira ibn Shu'bah, I'm sorry, Al-Mughira ibn Shu'bah, Al-Sijil, and others said Shurhabil ibn Hasana. They mentioned that the most prolific scribe of the Prophet ﷺ, or scribes, were Zayd ibn Thabit and Muawiyah. Now remember, the Prophet ﷺ couldn't read or write, so he had scribes, people that wrote for him. And then also that's how people would write. And I think I gave this speech before, and it's talking about memory, right? That when you're learning, if you have an A1 memory, you don't need to write anything because you'll be able to regurgitate everything word for word, right? But however, if you don't have that A1 memory, then you record with a pen and paper. Or in today's time, you got a tablet and a pen. Or you got a voice recorder. Or you got a cell phone where you could put notes, but you take notes. And then what students do is they get together and compare notes with one another, and speak of particular things. And there may be some research. You do your own personal research, and then you come back and you talk to the sheikh the next day if there's any questions, and if he can answer, he'll answer. If not, he'll refer you to somebody who can answer those questions, right? Most of our classes go, we sit there with like a body that fills the room, and you ask him, yo, what did you learn? Uh, um, 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 right? We have to have more esteem and more hormone for knowledge, especially our Islamic knowledge, right? You can't look at knowledge as just something that you're lazy with, that is unimportant, is boring, is dry. But you have to have that love and the zeal, especially we're learning Hadith Sharif because of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. We're learning Seerah because of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. You're learning the Quran in order to learn the words of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. Now, so the people who represented the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Amr ibn Umayma al-Damri al-Najashi, he took the letter of the Prophet ﷺ between his eyes, descended from his throne, and sat on the floor when he accepted Islam. And later, in the presence of Jafar ibn Abu Talib, and his Islam was good. Right? Like I said, we're going to talk about Najashi later. We're going to talk about him later. But he was considered a representative, a person who represented the Prophet. Say something. When you send somebody out, uh, like sometimes you hear him referred to as a delegate. The person was delegated to go and represent, or he was the ambassador, the representative of the Prophet. Say something. Next one he mentioned is the second one is Dihya ibn Khalaf al-Kalbi to Hercules, or Hercules, as we know, the leader of Rome. Abdullah ibn Hudhafa al-Sahmi, Chusros, the king of Persia. The fourth one was Hatib ibn Abu Belta Lahami Muqawqis. He was the king of Egypt and Alexandria. He said good words and almost accepted Islam, and he gifted the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam with Maria al-Qabtiyah, his sister uh Sihri, Shirin, right? Now I don't know if you remember, if you go back and we talk about females who the Prophet ﷺ freed, these two names were mentioned, Maria and Shirin, right? Shirin. These two women. Maria was the mother of Ibrahim, right? The Prophet ﷺ's son. Ibrahim alayhi son. His son though. Not Prophet, not Nebi Ibrahim, but the son of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Remember, he died at like 18 months old or something like that, or 2 years old. Maria Qaptiya. So he said the messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in turn gifted Hassan ibn Thabit with Shirin, right? So Amr ibn al-As to the kings of Oman, and they accepted Islam. And Amr ibn al-As, his name is very, very, very popular in the spread of Islam, especially when you learn, like when they went into the Bilad of Sudan and the Maghreb, out west in Africa and stuff like that. His name is very, very popular. He was a companion of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They said he remained with the Prophet. He remained with them until the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam passed away. Salit ibn Amr al-Amri al-Hawda ibn Ali al-Hanafi al-Yamama, Shuja ibn Wahb al-Sa'di to al-Harith ibn Abu Shamir al-Ghassani, the king of Balqa in Syria, Muhajir ibn Abu Umayma Makhzumi to Harith, Umairi, Al-Ala ibn Hadrami to Munzir ibn Sawa al-Ba'di, the king of Bahrain. Al-Hasa, today's Al-Hasa, this area is known as Al-Hasa in Saudi Arabia, who believed and accepted Islam. Abu Musa al-Ashri and Mu'adh ibn Jabal to Yemen, calling people to Islam. Generality of its inhabitants accepted, the general population of inhabitants accepted, and the leaders and the subjects. All of them were people who the Prophet ﷺ sent to carry a message or to teach and propagate Islam in regions outside of Medina. He had four muazzins, four people who called the adhan. Bilal ibn Rabah, ibn Maktoum, they were both in Medina. Mahdura is in Mecca, and Sa'd al-Qarada was in Quba. An explanation of their lives follows in their respective biographies, inshallah. Hold on, let me see. All right, this last section, and then inshallah, next week we'll get into the mannerisms of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Umrah, the Hajj, and the wars, the Ghazwa, the different wars that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam fought, and also when they went on a raiding, when they went to raid, lands, because part of war, strategically, what's it called when you play, like when you playing like Call of Duty or Division, where you go on what's it, excursions, where you go basically like looting, you going in, that's part of war. You know what I'm saying? The funny thing is, all of this kind of stuff, America, and I'm talking about the population back on the mainland, they cover that stuff up as if like it's not part of war, right? When Saddam Hussein got killed, or if he is dead, whatever, you never know, because guys who were placed in power by America, they're usually on a target list later on, and you never know because they once had a relationship with the people that claim to kill them, so you don't know if they're really dead or not. And Allah knows best, and we don't care. But anyway, he had, correct me if I'm wrong, Muhammad, was it millions or was it billions of dollars in his walls in his home? Saddam Hussein, yeah, billions. Billions of dollars in his home. In gold, I think. In gold bars, right? This was announced. They didn't call it a raid, you know what I'm saying? But that's what it was. Stop. And they just mentioned that. Drug raids, whenever there's a drug raid, there's the money that actually got confiscated, and then there's the money that got reported. Right. There's always two amounts, right? And the money that gets confiscated, hold on, let me I'll get after class, all right? The money that get confiscated, you don't really hear about that. You just hear about the money that was reported. And the money that's reported and confiscated, that's the money they claim that they put it back into, buying more supplies and weapons and things of that nature. However, Islamically, when there was war and it was a raid, if you were fighting in a war, in a Muslim war, and you found Saddam Hussein's stash, that goes to the Beit al-Mal. And the Beit al-Mal will pay the Mujahideen, the fighters, out of that. That's how they would take care of their family. That's why one day we're gonna go over this book, the book by Tanbih is it Tanbih Sahib by Muhammad Bello? Yeah, Tanbih Sahib, Muhammad Bello, where it talks about earning a living, and he mentions jihad in the book, fighting war, because you get paid the same way a military gets paid, for having soldiers is the same way you get paid, same way. I don't know why it's not fair to history, but you know why they do it, because if you take and split up the word history, it makes what? His story, right? So they wipe these kind of things out, and so when you wipe out that kind of history, you can make your opponent look like the villain. You get what I'm saying? So it's like you're hiding or covering up the truth. So you make the opponent look real, you make them look real bad. But anyway, historically establishing, there was also raids, right? So it was established Sahih Muslim and Sahih Bukhari that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam performed Umrah 4 times after Hijrah, and he performed Hajj only once in his life, and that was the Hajj before he passed, in which he bid the people basically farewell in the 10th of the Hijrah, the 10th year of the Hijrah. All right. When do we say the Hijrah calendar started? When was the first year of Hijrah? How do you count the Hijrah calendar? We went over it in this class.
I don't think I would care for it.
No, I don't think you was.
First year of Hijrah or the first?
Yeah, how do we establish the Hijrah calendar? Come on, you don't know stuff on? Come on, brother. You like the young Bukhari right now. You look serious. Come on, Bach. I thought you was Imam Shafi. I thought you knew. I thought you had the memory of Imam Shafi. What you say?
Yeah, the elephant.
No, not the year of the elephant. That was in Mecca. I think I just gave y'all a hint. That was in Mecca. The Hijri calendar was established when they was where?
Medina.
In Medina. Once they made Hijri to Medina, that became the Hijri calendar. That's how they marked the event from that point. Um, they said that the Prophet ﷺ fought in 25 battles, according to the Mashhur, to the dominant opinion. And there's one that said that he fought in 27. Hold on 1 second. Just looking at this one part. They mentioned that the Prophet ﷺ fought physically in 9 battles: Badr, Uhud, Khandaq, Bani Qurayda, Bani Mutallaq, Khaybar, Al-Fath Mecca, Hunayn, and Taif. This is according to the opinion of those who say that Mecca was conquered by force. So they're saying that some scholars' opinion that Mecca was took by force, then that means that there's an opposite opinion that Mecca wasn't taken by force. All right. Mm-hmm. So understand that when you're studying, you're gonna.
You said scholars' opinions.
Yeah, because the scholars they may have their evidences and why they differ on it. There'll be a group of scholars like through this whole class we talked about, for instance, what age did the Prophet die?
50, 60. I mean 63.
63. But we also mentioned in the class that he died at what? 60, right? So, you get where I'm going there. So there's evidences, and some of that stuff is not going to be exactly on point, like dates and years. When I'm saying not on point, I'm not talking about like we just making it up.
Totally.
So right.
Like spot on.
Right. Exactly. And then also what also plays part too with hadith, right? Let's say that I taught this class Bukhari, right? And everybody in the class said that I narrated a hadith that we only do one taslim, right? Let's say, now I'm single you out. Let's say Safwan said that he narrated from me, that I narrated from Muhammad, that he narrated from Umar, right? That goes all the way back to the Prophet sallallahu, right? That we did one taslim. While Nico later on said they never did one taslim, they always did two.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. It's like,
how would you argue against that? Safwan is older, right? Nico was a young boy. So we might have did that when he was still in diapers, but then he got older, you know what I'm saying, and did two instead. I'm just using that as an example. This is how you have a lot of differences because of that. And that's why names, places, years is important when you're studying. You're very particular when you're studying like that. Right? It plays a part. It's very particular. You know, I don't have that same particular and exactness like Sheikh Muhammad, right? Everybody always be like, yo, back in Chicago. That's how we always say your intro is. Cause we say, yo, when he narrates something, right, he narrates that joint to the T. But how he was telling me a story, right? You might have been around, Bach. And he even went to the point of the color of the clothing the man had on. I said, yo, this boy he'll be like a beast in Hadith. And he like go to the he had on them red shoes, Sheikh. He wasn't there. I'm gonna tell you, I know he wasn't there, Sheikh. Like, wow, how you know, man? He had on white slippers. He was like, damn, he did, didn't he? That's that. You understand what I'm saying? So that's how particular this is. For some people, this stuff is dry. It gets juicy because you're gonna start hearing about the wars and things like this. Right now, right now we just stating the facts. You know what happened, and then it may be a contrary opinion that's saying this versus that. Um, they also said that the Prophet ﷺ fought in Bawadi, Qurra, Ghaba, and Banu Nadir, and Allah knows best. So we'll stop there, inshallah. And then the next class we'll start to talk about the mannerism of the Prophet ﷺ.
Formal weapons. What was the fourth one?
Hold on, I'll tell you all four.
I know it was three that they called it that in the Prophet masculine.
Mm-hmm.
And there was one that boom.
They said Bilal ibn Maktoum, Mahdura,
and they called in the Prophet masculine.
Sorry, son. And then Sa'id Qara that in Cuba.
He was a man.
Nah. No, they say he was in Cuba. Yeah. And when they talking about with Mahdura, it probably was when they went back to Mecca and called the Adhan at the Hajj. Yeah. Yeah. All right.
That was the only thing.